So what to do with this car? Well, I put an ad out there, Facebook, to see if anybody would like a complete car, all parts included, and zero interest. No offers, no clicks. Well, there's some clicks, but there's no offers. Certainly no cash. Because I have my eye on another project, which I don't want to pick up unless I can get rid of this. And it looks like I can't get rid of this. So again, now that I have no other alternative, I'm re-examining this car, and it looks like, let's say, 95% of this car is good, right? There's just, some minor issues here, and that's probably the worst part. Everything else doesn't really matter, right? It's this part which is the worst part. So let's turn around. So, everything is rusty, and to create, so there's a ribbed, floor pan that, that'd be impossible to create. It also has to come down, meet this thing here, and has to come up and bolt onto the floor, and there's an angle, and then there's this, and then there's that, and then there's blah, 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 blah. So I can't reproduce that. But I can weld metal. So what I'm thinking is, I found a whole bunch of scrap metal someone was tossing. This is a desk. It's a cabinet. Got another cabinet back there. I got a whole bunch of scrap metal. Why not just patch this thing together? It's going to be ugly. It's going to be awful. And obviously, there's nothing to be proud of. But at least I'll get the thing tied together, and the structure will be sound enough. I mean, I've listed, as bad as this is, I've lifted this thing up by the front K-member, and it hasn't complained. Doesn't even creak. Doesn't moan. It just lifts right up. So it sounds like it's solid enough. I don't think it'll fall apart, right? I'll try to address all the pieces as much as I can. I'll get this unibody welded back up again as best I can, and put the interior back. I don't think anybody will notice. I don't know how I'm going to pass the safety, but that might work. Okay, so I think the plan of attack is this. So this structure here is sandwiched together with the floor here, right? So I think the best idea would be, to clean that up, cut that up, and then essentially put thick metal from here and connect it to the rocker, just between this area and this area here. This is where the that seat pan goes, right? That's what this substructure is, right? So basically, clean it up, and I'm going to sandwich it in between, and then weld, and then I'm going to weld it here, and that'll provide that rigidity. So I'm not going to put any types of these, these beads. I'm not going to do that, but I could do it afterwards, right? Similar to, you see this metal here, the scrap metal? It's got some sort of a ribbing here, right? So you could always weld after the fact a sort of a ribbing, which would give you the same, the same idea as a bracing, except the bends are going to be much simpler, right? And then you could worry about that afterwards. Or, maybe after I weld this thing, it'll be so strong you won't need to do it, right? So that's the idea. And then when that thick metal piece is done, then we'll start putting in sheet metal, weld if we can. Otherwise, we're going to just pop rivet these things. Same thing here. Whatever is left here and here. So we're going to do this whole floor here. But now that this whole thing is exposed, this is the next problem. So, this stuff is in really bad shape. And this thing here broke off too, right? But, I'm not so concerned about this back piece because, obviously it hasn't fallen down yet. But I think what we can do, and also this is coming off as well. This is the cross member for the transmission, right? So I think what I'm going to do with this, right, is basically come in from underneath and bend a piece. Oh my goodness. Right? right? So this piece here is, it basically just kind of broke off when I tried to get the nut off, but I'll just kind of reproduce that. But essentially, this thing here, you know, I mean, this is bad too. But I think what I can do is I'm basically gonna cut a slit here and cut a slit here, right? We'll have to relieve the stress on these torsion bars first, so this thing doesn't wrench off, right? And essentially put like a U channel between some part, like it's like around here, it's okay. So basically a U channel around, and then just go all the way up to here, right? And then just, you know, weld it as good as you can, right? Like nothing, I don't think any of this stuff is any good, but you know, the sides, hopefully the sides are good, right? And we'll figure out what we can do with that, right? So I think this is, we'll do this first, right? And once that's stable, then we'll get some patchwork for here, right? And then the last step would be to put sheet metal on top of the floor and just patch up as best as we can, right? I just want this to be stable, right? Structurally sound. I don't care how it looks. I'm not going to win any shows with this car. So that's the plan. Okay, so it looks to me, if we measure out on the side here, you know, 31 right here. All right, we get past the rot. All right. So roughly here we go. You feel that right around here, it starts getting solid again. So right around there, there's 31. Let's cut this one at 31. Okay, so this is my sheet of 14 gauge. I got this from Princess Auto. So unfortunately, none of the pieces that I have are this thick. So this I measured to be the same thickness as the frame. So I had to buy this. So it's 24 by 48. So I'm going to map out the pieces. So I think I just did it here. Let me just zoom in here. There we go. So it's about the frame's about 4.5 inches, and it's straight. So it's actually a pretty simple thing to fabricate. It's perfectly straight. It's even. It's just the top is changes shape. So I can do that on the cap. So I'm gonna make a bottom half and make a top half. Right. So I have enough here to do both sides bottom, and the top half is going to be a smaller cap, so that fits. And then the pan on one side, I'm going to make it with a 17 remaining, and it'll go 18 in, and that will do one side. And the other side, I don't know, we'll figure it out. Maybe I'll just do patches on the other side. Patches of patches of patches. So that's the plan. Okay, so this is the bottom part of the frame, and it looks like it's fitting pretty good. So I'll go ahead and just do the front here, and then weld it in. Also, the rocker is not looking as strong as I thought. So what I'm gonna do is I'll just make a patch panel up maybe here. and then weld, and that's good enough for that. So we'll take care of that. So this is the cup that holds the bushing, which is, the old one is here. So essentially the old one sits like that. So it sits inside this little pan here, but as you can see, this thing is rusted. This isn't savable. I can't use this again. So unfortunately I need a solution. Now I can't just hammer something like this, it has to be perfectly round. So I tried to use some old bearings that I had to press some metal, and it actually turned out pretty good. A little bit small for here, but I have this puller kit, and I think I can use this to press the metal. I don't know if this is going to work, but I mean, this is thick metal. But this one actually went in pretty easy. It squeezed in. I don't care about these bearings. I don't want to break my tool here, but I think this is cast. I don't think this is forged. It doesn't feel... it's hard to say. So if I put this down like this, and then put that like that, I'll put that down and just press this down. Right? Alright, let's see if it does anything. Look at that. Okay, so the piece that I made turned out pretty good. Pretty good compared to the old one. So lining up the old frame piece, and this is going to be my new one. So I'm just reproducing this seemingly very thick piece of stock right there. This is going to be mine. Looks pretty close, right? So now the next difficulty is welding, right? So I'm just using a gasless MIG, and this is 1/8 inch thick steel, and welder's not really rated to go up that high. But I guess what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put some really ugly stitch welds to make sure that it penetrates, and then it's going to be ugly, but I'll grind it off afterwards. And that's it. So that's basically it. Right? Alright, turned out okay. Obviously not the prettiest, but should do the job. For the next patch panel, I think I should do it. So the more I cleaned this thing up, the more I found out that it's basically all just rotted. This is not keepable. Nothing here, right? But the piece underneath, this is good. So I think I'll just cut this out. Cut this out here, and then put the piece from here to here, because this is not doing anything anyways. All right, I cut the area out, cleaned it. All this had to go. None of it was good. So this is the patch panel, which can fit right there. So I'll clamp that in. I'm going to do a combination of spot weld and regular weld. But before I do, I'm going to just smear this with grease. I don't know what other people do, but this is what I was shown to do. Just cover with grease. Well, these are not my finest welds, but that thin metal the MIG kept blowing through it, and the spot welder which wouldn't weld on top of that rusty metal. So a couple places it held good, but anyways, I'm gonna throw some primer over it. Those booger welds, I think they're good enough to hold. So a little bit of rocker guard, nobody will tell the difference. Weld it in, and it looks like it's lining up pretty good. It did come a little closer. Now it's only about 1/8 of an inch, but okay, so just making a cardboard cutout for this. Okay, that should fit good. Let's cut this out of steel now. So, trying to figure out the next step here, how to make this pan. So, fortunately, some of the driver's side is intact. So, I can use that as a template to mirror it on the other side. But of course, this hump is different than that hump, because why not? And then there's this weird thing here and all that stuff. But yeah, I think I can basically make cardboard cutouts here, here, make it match up as good as I possibly can, and then that would be the pattern that I'm going to hammer into the remaining 14 gauge metal, and then that's it. Now, this is the template, and I think it's easy to make this part here. And then I'm going to bend it up, and then I'm going to use this to basically go flat here. And then that's basically it. Then I'm just going to hammer this shit down. I'm going to bend it. It's going to be bad. But the idea is to probably drill a couple more spot welds, then sneak the thing underneath, and then another one there, and then just fill up the welds, and then underneath do the same thing. But most of the structure is bad, right? Everywhere it's come down, it's gone bad. This is all bad. I can't weld this to this. So I'm going to come straight across and then just kind of bend up with whatever space I have left. So this is just going to be a ugly hammering panel, and that's it. All right, this piece is basically ready. I just kind of guessed at what this looked like, and so it's going to basically fit underneath this thing. But I would like to do a test fit to see how good it is, because you can't really tell once that's on. So it's time to start cutting this up. So this dent, this thing in the middle here, I don't see what the purpose of this is. Definitely the ribbing is lower here. That's why there's one spot weld here. But since this whole thing is compromised anyways, I don't see any reason why I need to keep it. And the seat doesn't have any, like, there's no power motor or anything underneath the seat. So this isn't necessary. I don't know why this is here. It's maybe for another car. Maybe there's a purpose for something, but for this car, it's not necessary. So I'm not going to do this. So I'm going to cut this out here, and then essentially tap it up, and then just spot weld it around when it's ready. And then I can cut all this rusty crap off because I don't need this anymore. And then do a first fit, see if I can get that sandwich. Piece is all welded in. So the next thing I'm going to do is just put a patch piece just to cover up these holes, and then basically patch it all the way up to here with thin metal. Then we'll make a patch panel for here, probably all the way to here because it's all bad. And then we'll cut out the hole for the bushing. Next piece I'm going to make is this back here. So it's got a bunch of curves here, and I think probably the best idea would be to make this into two pieces. So it looks like it's all rotted up against the rockers here. So I'm going to just basically get this piece of scrap metal and gonna make a piece that will extend all the way over here, come down and just come out to here, and then I'll make another patch piece here that'll come out and do this little curve thing here, and then weld, and yeah, should look good. Jeez, what a piece this is. Alright, it looks like with all the clamps in, it fits good. So this comes down, there's that piece that comes down, this comes down, this all comes down, there's a rounded bit here, and then there's cutouts for rocker and seatbelt. My goodness. But this should fit. Alright, let's sand this down and weld it up. So, interesting story. I didn't weld this piece on yet. As you can tell, I thought that there was an issues with my spot welder. So I took my spot welder apart, and it was no burning or anything in there. So then I practiced on another piece of metal, and it started working. So then I kind of deduced that this is aluminum. So no matter how much you try, you cannot spot weld aluminum to metal. So that was a waste of a couple days. You know, it's funny because, you know, this is these were trays inside the metal cabinets, but I guess these are aluminum trays, not steel trays. And you know, it's funny. Almost. So yeah, where am I going? So I'm in the middle of hammer forming this one. This is metal, and it should take a few hours. At least I have a template now, which is perfect, so it shouldn't be that hard. Anyways, I always remember my my old man telling me that you need a magnet in the garage, so you can check to see if the metal that you're working with is aluminum or metal. And I always thought that was weird because, you know, isn't it obvious when something is metal or something is aluminum or is a metal? But not so much. Not so much. I didn't even notice the change in weight. There you go. Okay. Interesting story for today. The patch piece is welded in, more or less. This is so thin, the welder is just blowing right through it. But anyways, it's all welded in. Next piece is this here. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to overlap it here, come across here, follow this line up, because it's all rusty underneath, and then basically go up straight, up to here, and then here. Which gives us this template here. So one piece of metal without any, you know, folds or bunch of. I should do it. I should do it right there. There. So we got a new piece of metal, and I'm going to use it and bend it, and let's do it. Well, nothing really lines up here. These are kind of our lines. Here and here, so it's supposed to basically just flap down, but because this and this don't intersect, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how this goes. Alrighty. patch panels in, I feel like every panel that I add, the structure gets stronger. This is actually not even moving at all. Crazy. It is the magic of the unibody. Okay, so the next step is the bushing. So underneath here, we actually have to have a recessed area. So underneath, I'm going to put the bushing, drill a hole, then we're going to cut, and then we're going to weld in a piece for that. I tacked in the piece. This now is stable. It fits normally with the bushing here. So that frame rail secures and everything is perfect. So, but there is a problem. So if you kind of take a look at this, I mean, I don't know what to base this on. I don't have any other car here to match it, but based on the pictures, I can see that this lower frame here essentially lies parallel with this rocker, right? So that's all I know. So the problem is on the other side, it actually hangs down almost about an inch more on this side, right? So even though I have the jack stand lifting this up, and I got the body secured on the springs here, and I got the front supported by the very front of the K-member, right? That side still hangs lower. And the only way that that could hang lower is if something is wrong with that bushing, you know, that bushing bracket, that bushing perch. So because it's all rusted and I believe what's happening is that side is actually hanging lower because that's not connected. This side is still connected, but that side is not. So I don't want to weld this thing in until I can fix that side, right? So I think I need to fix that side. Of course, this pan is not finished yet, but another problem is that if you can see all this dark stuff, this is actually the heater core, which is leaking. I don't know if you can tell, but there's drips coming on. I don't really want to do any work until I fix the heater core. And I can't do that side until I turn the car around. And I can't turn the car around until I can unseize the brakes, fix the leaking heater core, fix the leaking transmission lines, fix the leaking power steering lines, and get this car up and running again. So I think what I'll do is I'll just kind of call this video here. I'll just end this here. And then I got to do a whole bunch of repairs before I can turn this car around, and then I can address that issue there. So I did pretty good. I did what I wanted to do, and I'll stop here. I'll probably have to remove these tacks and reposition this because once that frame, once I can lift this up a little bit and get the whole thing even again, this is probably not going to fit anymore. So I'll do all that at the end. So this is, I thought would be a quick thing, but because of that issue right there, it's kind of stopping me. All right, so we'll call it here, and I'll do all these repairs, and we'll pick it up when I can get this thing mobile again. All right.